Okay, I think we're live and well, welcome to the fourth round of Stockholm Chess Challenge here in Stockholm. I'm gonna keep looking at the first boards, of course, and well, we have a couple of interesting games so far. Yesterday, I think pretty much everyone was tired. There were a lot of short games, and actually some of the games were really long. But anyway, I think that we have a really interesting tournament coming up, and we have actually 6 players on the lead at 2.5 points out of 3. We have Erik Blomqvist playing against Martin Harbour today on the first board. We have the Grandmasters Ulvi Bayarani playing against Adam Tukayev on the second board, and we also have Danish Mads Hansen playing the fourth Grandmaster Nikita Mayorov on the third board. And all of these guys have 2.5 points out of 3, so if any one of those win their games, I mean they're really in the fight for the first place in this tournament. And well, for the Swedish players, it's not going that well actually. Well, it's going probably like expected. Erik Blomqvist, of course, in the lead. He's the top-rated player in this tournament. He's the favorite. He's doing all right. However, he's playing black today. The other Swedish guys, unfortunately, Westerberg lost a horrible game yesterday. I don't think he wants to talk about it actually. It goes really well for Milton Panzer actually. That's Sweden's biggest hope so far. He's been playing really well. He's got 1.5 point out of 3, and he actually kind of deserves more. He lost a bit unnecessarily yesterday, but he's been playing really good. And today he's playing another Swedish player, Kenneth Skog, who hasn't been showing his best game so far. But well, hopefully we will see a couple of good games today. We will keep looking at the first board. We have the Danish Martin Harbour is playing Blomqvist on the first board, and after e4 there was already a small surprise because Blomqvist played e5, and he usually never plays e5. The last couple of years he started looking at a couple of different openings, but I mean he's a Sicilian player. He usually plays some kind of calm with like a6 here, or he plays the Najdorf. He's usually well prepared in the Sicilian, so e5 is a slight surprise, but I mean obviously he must have prepared it because Harbour is an e4 player as well. And he's got time to prepare because we only have one game today, fortunately. Well, we have the real Lopez, and we quickly get to one of the main lines. We have seen it plenty of times in this tournament so far, and well, all of this has been explained before. h3, obviously preparing d4 without allowing the bishop to counter g4. And here, well, we saw a couple of Breyer games in knight b8. We also saw Milton playing yesterday the new knight a5 in his game against Mads Hansen. But well, Blomqvist plays a third option. He plays bishop b7, decisive variation. This was really popular a couple of years ago. Then it kind of disappeared, and then I think it was 2 years ago it started appearing again because of Peter Svidler, who introduced a couple of new ideas for black. And I think that's what Blomqvist is trying to do. He's not trying the classical stuff that Kasparov used to play in the 80s and 90s. He's going for this new stuff by Svidler. He's generally quite well aware of the current trends and the modern stuff theory right now, so it's always interesting to see Blomqvist games. After d4 he went rook e8, of course the main line, and well, the old main line is something like knight d2 here. Black went bishop f8, and I think you went a4 immediately, and there are a lot of different complicated lines here. But anyway, this move rook e8 is kind of annoying because it allows white to play knight g5. You're kind of threatening something nasty on f7, so black has no choice. He has to go back rook f8. But on the other hand, this knight on g5 is now quite silly, so pretty much white has to go back to f3, and this is it's a well-known repetition. If you want to draw, quick draw against a friend or something, this is it's a safe way to get a draw. But you know, sometimes white doesn't want to draw, then usually they play this knight d2 stuff. Or black is the one who doesn't want to draw, which I think is the case this time, because Blomqvist actually, after repeating once, he played the move knight d7, which is a move order trying to, play for the win and at the same time getting these positions that Svidler played. We will see the point here anyway. Knight d2, and at this point implies e takes d4. I've tried this myself with black. Uh, I used to like it. I'm not sure I like it that much anymore. But well, bishop f6, and here we get the point. With knight d7, this bishop on f6 is actually rather good. You're not going to get e5 easily with white, and if you play d5, then this bishop is really good on f6. So you get some kind of Benoni structure. I mean, it's not really a Benoni, but yeah, this bishop is really good. Well, white doesn't want to play d5 if he doesn't have to, so he goes knight f1 instead, keeping protection of the d4 pawn, and after knight a5, hitting the bishop, you don't want to lose that bishop. Bishop c2, rook e8. We see that black is pretty much putting a lot of pressure in the center. And later on he can even consider a move like c5, just getting this bishop into play a bit more. I'm not completely sure about the theory anymore. And I think there are a lot of different lines that kind of look similar, and I might even have mixed them up at some point. But anyway, bishop f4 kind of says that you just want to develop, and at some point maybe e5 is on the cards. And of course c5 is also not really an idea now when d6 is hanging, so well, black plays this move knight f8. It looks very natural. The knight is probably heading to g6 or maybe even e6, trying to increase the pressure here. But g6 is also a decent square because, well, later on if white really has to go d5, then the square on e5 is just great. So, well, this is the position they have right now. Blomqvist has been playing really quickly, and I think this is still theory. So, yeah, Hobr is the one who's been doing all the thinking so far. And, yeah, I don't know. It's a really complicated position, which is kind of what I like about it. At the same time, it's kind of dangerous because you always have to calculate complicated lines where white goes e5, maybe knight g3, knight f5 at some point. You kind of have to figure out what you're going to do with the knight on a5. Is it going back to c6 later? Is it jumping into c4? There are a lot of questions, and there are no like easy answers actually. So it's a difficult line to play with both colors, and I think Blomqvist is quite satisfied, having surprised in the opening once again. He's becoming more and more practical in that sense. So yeah, I mean this knight on f1 is obviously heading somewhere. He can't really go to e3 because e4 would be hanging. So if he goes to g3, it looks natural. But after like knight e6, the bishop can't really drop back to g6, and bishop e3, then you're probably hit by knight c4, just hitting b2 and hitting e3. So yeah, I'm not sure this bishop on f4 is that good actually. Maybe you have to go back to c1 again, or it doesn't really look right. But of course, white's shouldn't be worse. It's an interesting position, and yeah, I mean it's a game, and the best player will win this game for sure. It's not there are no forced draws, no long theoretical lines so far, but I mean when this variation starts becoming more and more popular, then people will analyze it more and more, and eventually there will be a long theoretical discussion in it anyway. So it's you can't really run away from theory, I guess, these days when everyone keeps analyzing everything. So yeah, let's look at the second board. We have I think the first Grandmaster meeting in this tournament. We have Adam Tokayev playing Ulvi Bayrani, and these are the two players who I keep forgetting which countries they play for. I'm gonna guess Tokayev plays for Russia and Bayrani for Azerbaijan, but I'm not sure. We have the French defense. I can't really say that I've seen them play any of these players too much, but we have the advanced variation. And this is quite interesting because I never get to see this variation anymore. Everyone keeps playing knight c3 or knight d2. Knight c3, and everyone keeps playing this stuff. I've seen it in like every single tournament. And after knight d2, well, of course, everyone keeps playing c5 or even knight f6. Feels like I'm seeing all the same stuff all over again. It's all starting to blend together, but e5 is very interesting. I like playing against the e5 variation because I think black has a lot of different ideas. that are all really interesting, but it doesn't mean that white's position is inferior in any way. I mean, it's just I feel more comfortable in black's shoes here. But I mean, it's okay. This is interesting. After queen b6, this is obviously the main line. You could also go bishop d7 or even knight h6 here, which I've tried a couple of times, but queen b6 is the main line. And here I think most people usually go a3 here when there's lines with knight h6 and even c4, which I think are the main moves. Or they go bishop e2, which is a well-known variation. There's also like gambit variation, bishop d3, which is I think it's called Milner-Barry gambit. Very interesting, all of it. But Tukayev actually tries something completely different. He plays this move knight a3, and it's not a new idea completely, but in this position I'm not sure I have seen it before. And well, the knight on c2 can be rather good. I mean, it supports the d4 square. It's a real nice square. I mean, if you take on d4 at some point, and I think that's kind of what Black is trying to avoid by taking on d4 immediately. White doesn't have the time to take back here with a knight, which he would probably want to do. So here he has to take back with the pawn. And Black is trying to prove that the knight on a3 is not really good. Well, it's maybe it would have been better on c3. But I mean, this is interesting. I have to say I haven't really seen this before. Knight e7, knight c2. The knight could be heading to e3 later, or just staying on c2 for now, probably. But later on, the knight can play on both the queen side and even on the king side later on g4. But yeah, I'm gonna see what happens in the game instead. Knight f5, what keeps developing, bishop d3, and well, of course, important point is you can't really take on d4. This is a well-known trap. Don't fall for that trap. You lose the queen because it's hanging on d4. So don't take on d4. So instead, Black plays this move bishop b4 check, which looks interesting considering that well, White can't really take on b4, can he? Obviously, you don't really want to give up the bishop for the knight, but I mean, in this case, I think you can take the pawn on d4 next move and you don't win the queen, which I think is important. I'm not sure about the move king f1. I would probably play king f1 because, well, why not? The bishop is kind of, what are you doing over there? The king isn't really weak. I mean, the center is closed. Later on you can go g4 or something, king g2, maybe even h4. The king is safe on f1. I'm not really sure, but obviously White wanted something else. We went bishop d2. So this is interesting. He actually sacrifices a pawn here. You can take on b2 and castle. So this is what happened in the game. And Black has won a pawn, but the pawns on b2 are always, I mean, it's always scary taking these pawns on b2. On the other hand, you kind of need some kind of compensation for it. You can't really drop b pawns all over the board. And in this case, well, White has the better bishop. Black got rid of his good bishop, the dark squared bishop. And I'm guessing that White has a lead in development, for sure. Black hasn't castled, this bishop is still a problem. So we might actually have some kind of compensation on both sides of the board because, well, White can advance on the king side, and on the other hand we can also play moves like rook b1, rook c1, and we have some kind of pressure on the queen side as well. So I think this is interesting. I'm not sure I would go for this pawn sacrifice with White. I'm definitely sure that Erik Blomqvist would not go for this pawn sacrifice with White, but doesn't mean it's bad. It's just extremely interesting, and well, one of course immediate threat would be rook b1 because the queen is trapped. The queen can't really return to a3 this time because the knight on c2, but Black has to waste time going back with the queen as well. Queen b6, and now White just played h4. And well, you might ask me what the idea of that is, and I'm just trying to figure out what it is. Obviously he can gain Spain, so both sides of the board. Not really sure. Okay, this could be one idea. I mean, let's say you get to play the move h5 as well. And then maybe one threat would be actually taking this guy on f5. Usually, I'm not really sure I want to take that guy, but now when I get to play h6, Black has to play g6, and suddenly there are a lot of holes in this position. I mean, knight e3 at some point, this guy is rather weak. This looks like decent compensation. I mean, if you just want to push the h-pawn, at some point I think black has to react, but I would say when the pawn gets to h5, maybe black can just go h6. But then of course, you could go g4 if you want to with white. I'm not sure you want to, but it's interesting. After h4 he actually went for something completely different. He just went back with the queen to d8, obviously threatening the pawn on h4, but white's going to play his idea with h5 anyway. And he didn't go for this idea with h6, which I considered at this point. He actually went knight h4. And well, I'm trying to figure out. Well, he's obviously interested in trading these knights. And I don't think you want to take on h4, because suddenly this pawn on h5, it's not so easy to protect. That you don't really want to go moves like bishop e2, it's too passive. And h6 you probably can just take it. And later on this king might be the weak one after rook g8, but so white's not going to take on h4. We actually have another move. He didn't want to trade those knights himself. Knight h2 is played. And well, this knight on h4, it now looks kind of silly. Probably has to go back to f5 at some point. And another day could be to play h6 here. And if black just plays g6, keeping the position close, we have knight g4. And you can go knight f6 next move, and it looks like good compensation. But I'm thinking, should you go h6 or something here? It feels like if white gets the pawn to h6, there's clearly some compensation. But here, this knight on h4, I'm not really sure how to evaluate. White could consider g4 at some point, just keeping the knight locked on h4, but it's not really that convincing. I'm not sure how to win this, even if it looks weird. Black can at some point play g5 or f6, even though it's not really attractive right now. Well, knight h2. White certainly has some interesting compensation. This idea with h4, h5, h6 looks decent. I would probably prefer this move h6 here. But still, white has some compensation. Of course, queen f4 perhaps. Later on g4. It's an aggressive variation for Tokayev. He's clearly trying to win this game, but actually black is the one who's been playing quicker, which is kind of surprising. Okay, let's look at the third board. We have Mads Hansen playing Majorov on the third board. I think Hansen is playing for a Grandmaster, nor Majorov is already a Grandmaster. And once again, we see a lot of real Lopez in this tournament. All of these moves have been explained, I think, 4 or 5 times so far in this tournament. This is where Blomqvist right now plays this variation with bishop b7, but instead we see another Breyer, which I think Majorov played yesterday as well against the other Danish guy. Hobro? I'm trying to remember the games, but anyway, like I explained yesterday, the idea is that the knight is obviously better on d7 than c6, now when the pawn comes to d4, and also the bishop on b7, so like he plays in the next move, it's much better now when the knight is not on c6, of course. And later on, bishop c2, this is still Majorov's game from yesterday. The idea of bishop c2 is obviously he wants to go knight f1, knight g3, but we can't really play knight f1 because the e4 pawn is hanging right now. So bishop c2, and they both keep playing their usual plan, rook e8. And here I think the deviation from yesterday's game. I think Hobro played knight f1, and they went into this long main line, and I think he went a4. This has all been played a lot of times, but instead Hansen plays something completely different. He plays a4 immediately, and after bishop f8 he plays this move b3, and I have to say that I haven't really seen this before. There are a lot of moves where you play b3 and a4, and the nuances in the Ruy Lopez are extremely subtle, so I'm not booked up on all of them, unfortunately. But, well, obviously the bishop wants to go to b2. That much I understand, but okay, let's see. Bishop g7 looks natural here. And one idea could be to play bishop d3, and this pawn on b5 kind of needs some support. You don't want to take her because the pawn structure is not as nice. The pawn on a6 is rather weak, so you don't really want to play a move like c6 either, because this bishop was much better without the c6 move, but maybe you have to go c6 and just play queen c2. And White's probably arguing that he's slightly better because the bishop on b7 isn't perfect, but still it's a game. It's nothing seriously wrong with Black's position. It's very complicated. But instead, Black played something different. He took on d4. And usually you want something very concrete in the center when you make such a move, because otherwise White's just very good and he has very nice bishops. Especially the one on b2 makes a lot of sense now. And it seems like he has some idea in the center. He played d5. I think maybe strategically White was even threatening to play d5 himself, when this pawn on b5 would be rather weak as well. So d5. And yeah, if White takes on d5 now, I think maybe knight takes d5 or even bishop takes d5, and White is stuck with his pawn on d4. I think maybe bishop takes d5, and later on maybe c6, and his pawn on d4 is a huge problem because the bishop is bad. This knight has to keep defending it. This guy on d2 doesn't really do much. So instead White played very natural move e5, threatening the knight on f6, and it has to move, and I think it only has one square on h5. And I'm not completely thrilled by Black's position here. You kind of want something more dynamic, and we see here that Hansen plays a very interesting idea. It takes on b5, he trades a couple of rooks. I'm not completely sure who it benefits, but after bishop takes a8 he plays this move bishop d3. So once again this pawn on b5 is a problem, and okay, a move like c6 is completely out of the question. I mean, the bishop on a8 is kind of ridiculous here, so you can't really play a move like c6. Which only leaves this move b4. And now you kind of have to ask yourself if the structure is good or bad for White, because this pawn on c7 can become weak. I mean, let's say if you get moves like queen c2, rook c1, just building up pressure, this guy can become rather weak. Probably Black is going to play c5 at some point, maybe immediately. But on the other hand, if you play c5, then suddenly you get a nice square on d4. This pawn on d5 isn't perfect. Maybe you can go knight d4 at some point, but I'll probably start with a move like bishop b5, because this rook is attacked and I don't want to give up this bishop too early. And this just looks good for White actually. So okay, maybe White, maybe you should wait with c5 for a couple of moves, but I'm not completely sure about this idea with e takes d4 and d5. It feels like White's slightly better here. Instead he played g3 here. Also makes a lot of sense, eliminating this idea with knight f4. Knight g7, so the knight is heading to e6. I think it was Alekhine who once said that if you get a knight to e6 in the Ruy Lopez or in the open games at all, you can't really lose the game. And hopefully for Mayorov he was right, even though I've got the knight to e6 a couple of times and it didn't save me, unfortunately. But well, knight h2, it's still heading again. It's similar to Tukayev's game. There are a lot of weak squares here. They're not really obvious. Maybe he's also preparing f4 at some point, but it appears to not be f4. He played knight f3. Okay, I'm actually not sure about knight f3. But I mean, one idea could be that after c5 we have the square on d4 for the knight. And I mean, is it completely wrong to go f4? Yeah, it's probably completely wrong to go f4 here, because Black can go c5, and suddenly I think this guy is rather weak on g1. I don't want to go f4 anymore. Okay, Hansen is probably much more sensible than I am. knight f3, c6, queen d2. It's very natural development, but I want to say that white is slightly better. Still, this move c6 is extremely ugly because this guy on a8, it's not doing much. It's gonna take a while until this guy is doing anything. I think eventually you might have to go c5 anyway, because I mean this and move all the knights now, not really. I think white's slightly better. This experiment with, well, maybe this idea with a4 and b3 is something. It's obviously something he prepared because Mayorov played the game Breyer yesterday, and I feel like Mayorov maybe he found this idea. E takes d4 and d5. It's probably not theory. Let's just throw him out of the book so he can't follow his preparation. And well, this is the problem. He has to suffer a slightly worse position, but it's full of fighting possibilities. It's nothing serious for black. And I mean, obviously, Alekhine likes black's position with the knight on e6, but I might just be wrong about. Someone said it was good to have a knight on e6, but maybe it's not Alekhine. Okay, I have one game that I definitely want to follow. Oh, there are a lot of things that's happening on some of the other boards. Let's look at the Norwegian meeting. We have Mikhailov, who completely crushed the King's Indian today, and today he was facing his other Norwegian friend Tor Fredrik Kasen, who, well, he won his first game yesterday, well deserved, and well, now he has to show that he's back. And what we get here is some kind of King's Indian battle. And I actually like studying the King's Indian. I think it's extremely rich and quite difficult to analyze, so this is very interesting. He plays the entirely same variation that he played yesterday, Mikhailov, Rook c1, and this is where the guy from Mongolia, Erden I think his name was, he played Rook f6, and we got this crazy fight with Rook h6, c5, and here Queen e8 was played, but it was probably just bad knight b5. Mikhailov seemed to know everything there is to know, so instead we recommend the move a6, and in the analysis after the game he actually showed this variation with knight g6, and he showed that after c5, knight takes b4, knight a6, knight d3, he said that black's position was quite bad. And that's interesting because Kosen played this same variation against him just now, which means he probably prepared something. And yeah, I'm not sure about the theory anymore. I think h5 is a move. Rook f7 is also very sensible defending this way. And at some point you might want to go bishop f8 and h5 anyway, but this has to be prepared by both players. Bishop d7, a4, h5. I actually looked it up when I came home yesterday because I wasn't sure this was so good for white, but okay, so here we see Mikhailov's idea. Obviously, I really like this idea. I'm not sure how good it is, but I really like it. He played knight c6, and well, the knight is so strong, you basically have to take it. I mean, queen e8 or something, you can't really let white take over everything, so you kind of have to accept the piece sacrifice. And looking at these pawns, it's quite clear that white has very good compensation. And I mean, if you have to make a move like knight b8, then yeah, you shouldn't be playing this variation at all, because well, white is going to play knight b4, knight d5. Eventually, he's going to play a5, b6, and it's just gonna win the game. Black might be a piece up, but white's pieces are the one who's playing. So after b5, he actually found this move queen c8. So he decided to give back the piece. But I'm still not sure about this pawn on a4 might become rather strong because, well, we have two very good bishops here. The knight can still come to d5 eventually. Well, this is what he played immediately actually. Knight b4, rook a8, knight d5. So I think strategically black is still very much losing on the queen side, because this pawn eventually will just run into a7 and get a new queen. So black still has to go for mate on the other side of the board. I would actually suspect that this is still preparation by Kosen, because well, it's still well-known theory up to knight c6, and This move queen c8, it obviously had this idea of playing g4, and he found it already here after b5, so yeah, I'm guessing it's some kind of preparation. I'm not sure if Mihailov was in this position before. g4. I'm actually not sure about how well they know each other. I mean, they're both from Norway. I'm not sure they're playing here together, but it wouldn't surprise me if they looked at the King's Union together at some point. Rook b1, and well, one idea is of course to get the rook into b7. Eventually you can double or even triple on the b file. Knight e7, hitting this pawn on c6. It's kind of weak. You don't want to lose this pawn, but I mean, you're not gonna get it so easily. Bishop b5 defends both of these pawns, but at the same time you don't get this idea with rook b7 anymore. And well, if I was white, I would want to get this a pawn running as quickly as possible, which makes me feel that maybe rook b1 wasn't accurate, because maybe rook a1 is where the rook is supposed to be, but rook b1 knight e7. Yeah, we get some very concrete play here, and well, black takes on d5, bishop f5. I'm not really sure how to evaluate this. He goes bishop d3, and he actually loses the pawn on a4. But I mean, looking at the pawn structure, I would say that white still has something for the pawn. I mean, sure, these pawns look scary, but white's not getting mated. So rook a1, there's still some play. However, what's going on here? Okay, it takes on f3, and he actually takes back here on f3 with the pawn, which looks extremely dangerous to me. Because this king is quite weak. But okay. Queen h3, king h1. He's not getting mated because the rook can come to g1, but let's say that if the queens and rooks come off the board, we have an interesting bishop endgame, and if white were to move, we would have ideas like bishop b6. And you can't really defend c7, and if you take, then I get a new queen. So the bishop endgames, well, they're alright, but if on the other hand, if black gets moved like bishop e7, bishop d8, then white has no tactics working for him. And I think eventually black will just walk up with the king to f5 and break e4, and maybe these pawns will just start dropping off. I'm not sure how quick white is with the king, but it feels like he's slower. So rook g7, rook g1, bishop e7, and white just played this move bishop a7, so he might be trying to get something here. But I mean, I'm far from convinced by Mihailov's position, and I think he actually claimed that maybe white was winning in this variation with c5 and b4. And this game, I think, pretty much proves that white is not winning. I would even say that he's worse here. And it feels like Kosa maybe just got some preparation in the game, and Mihailov, I'm not sure. And maybe this idea with knight takes d5, bishop f5 was strong, and okay, maybe bishop d3 had to be played because e4 is rather strong otherwise. So I don't know. Can you play rook b4? Looks really ugly. No, you probably have to go for this line. And yeah, let's look at some of the other games. Do you want to join me in the studio? Okay. It's not a player. We have a guest here in the studio. He's not going to join us on camera. Okay, let's look at this game. We haven't seen Theodor Kaneskog play against Milton, and we have a lot of Ruy Lopez. I think this is the third Ruy Lopez game we have today, and Milton plays again this line with knight a5. I'm not gonna keep explaining the opening over and over again, but knight a5. This is what he played yesterday, so obviously white has prepared something. And well, we have this position. I think yesterday Milton played this move knight c6, and we got this interesting structure with knight d8, and he later on went for this idea with knight e8, and yeah, and slowly he prepared this move f5. It's extremely interesting, but instead he played something different today, bishop d7. Knowing Milton, I don't think it's some kind of preparation. I think he was just afraid of white's preparation and he tried something different. He's not the guy who prepares the long variations. He just tries to, well, stay out of danger and play chess. Knight f1, knight c4, and I have to say I don't really know this stuff anymore. Knight c4, b3, knight b6. So this move b3, it's both good and bad because eventually black can play a move like b4 and even take here, and there are some weakness on the c3 square. But on the other hand, this guy on b6, it's not really doing anything much. So I guess it kind of evens out. Knight e3, and well, you might ask why doesn't the knight go to g3 instead, but I guess it's not really threatening to go into f5 anyway, because black could just go g6 and it's not really going anywhere. So knight e3 is another option. I'm not sure the knight is that much better, but yeah, I mean, g6 kind of weakens the king a bit more when the knight is here, because we have knight g4. Like, if you play g6, maybe this is an idea at some point with knight g4. Anyway, rook e8. Bishop d2 looks kind of weird to me. I mean, bishop b2 looks a bit more flexible because we have this square for the queen at some point, but I mean, okay, maybe the queen doesn't want to be on d2 anyway. Yeah, actually Milton played c4 here, which looks interesting, but I'm not sure what's going on. Knight f5. So maybe, I don't know, they've been thinking for quite a while, both of them. He actually gives up the bishop there. I'm gonna look at the position we have at the board anyway, but so white has the bishop pair, but the position isn't really open, so we can't really say that these bishops are extremely good. They can become good if something happens, but I mean, you don't want to take on c4, obviously. This knight on c4 would be really good, but you don't really want to go b4 either, so I think they're both kind of waiting. Black doesn't want to take on b3, but white doesn't want to take anywhere anything. So b4 at some point, then maybe black can just go a5. And, well, looking at the king side in the center, I don't think white wants to take on e5 too quickly anyway. We kind of want to wait for black to take here because we have a nice square on d4, but black is not going to take anyway. e4, maybe at some point, but let's say if we move the knight to, where should we put the knight? Maybe h4 even. And if black is going something like d5, we can go start running on g4. Maybe the knight can come here, bishop f4. I'm not even sure how to evaluate this, but it looks okay. It's one of those rich Ruy Lopez positions where I actually have no idea what's going on. So what else? We have this game. Hambleton is playing against Eric Thun. I actually spoke to Eric yesterday and he said that Hambleton was extremely easy to prepare against because he always plays the same variation. He also says that in the King's Indian he also plays the sandwich, which he does, and apparently he got in some kind of preparation. But anyway, when I looked at the clocks, why did Eric have so little time on his clock? I have no idea. I think all of this has been played before, and this is actually an interesting structure because white might be able to go g4, h4 and try to attack on the king side, which isn't perfect because usually in the King's Indian black is the one who wants to attack on the king side, but maybe this king wants to go this side. I mean, it's not perfect on c1, but it might be able to hide away on b1. So castling queenside is an option. This guy on e2, later on he could go to g3 if you start with g4. But on the other hand, if you want to play more positional, the knight could also go to c1 and d3. It would be perfect if you get it to like c4, but it's not really realistic to get it a knight to c4 here. So, well, black starts on the queen side and white starting on the king side here with g4. I think if you play h4 immediately, then h5 might actually work out for black, because g4 is not as easy to play here. You might have to play it as a sacrifice, but g4 kind of stops that. So b5, knight g3. They're following their own plans. Knight b6. There are squares on c4. The bishop can come here on rook c8. Yeah, b3 stops everything here. I'm not sure if this is theory or not. And he plays this move bishop d3. I'm not sure about bishop d3, but it looks like white isn't really going all in a kingside attack. Maybe he just wants to even consider castling short. And he has a lot of space. At some point he can prepare like queen e2 and prepare a4. Try and play against this pawn on a6. He can even consider moves like queen f2 at some point, because this guy don't really want to go back to a8. But actually, did he really play? Okay, he actually played knight a8 by himself. And what is he trying to achieve? Yeah, I'm not completely sure what the plan is behind knight a8. Um, yeah, maybe this is the plan, but yeah, it's a plan. But I mean, it looks like you should have started with something else. It doesn't look like. Maybe you can start with, I don't know. Okay, maybe not knight e8, because if you move the knight, then h4 is kind of dangerous again. Yeah, maybe he was just running out of decent squares, and now he has some ideas with maybe even queen a5 at some point. But if you have to go moves like knight a8, I'm not sure if I like black's position. I think, yeah, one of the good things is that the position is very solid. It's not so easy to lose it with either color. Knight e2, and you traded rooks, and I think the endgame is quite nice for white, because you always have this weakness on d6, and also when you have played b5, then you always have this idea with a4, so I think white is quite happy if he gets to trade all the pieces. a5. Okay, so it seems like you were right, this was the idea. He wants to go with the knight to b5, and well, he has some squares. The knight would be really good on b5, but now he's also very slow. g5, knight h5. This is kind of, I think you maybe have to go knight h5, because this is extremely dangerous. I mean, the queen is very quick to h2, and it's just mate, I think. So, well, it looks like black is doing extremely badly. I mean, if you just look at the structure, I don't really like taking the structure too much. And I mean, the knight on a8, it can become really good, but it takes a couple of moves. And I don't know, I'm not convinced by black's position here. I mean, this is one idea, of course. It's not so easy to defend this guy. Probably, can he go for f5? Everything looks dangerous to me, but maybe he has to go for f5. But I mean, if you take here, then suddenly you have something to attack on h4. And if you take here, at least you have something to attack on f3. So you have some kind of idea. Maybe you can go bishop e4 or something, but yeah, maybe f5 is the idea. Maybe knight e2 isn't. I'm not sure if I like the move f4, because suddenly this guy is very good, and I realized that bishop c3 wins the queen. So yeah, he actually took on h5. So this is the position, and I have a feeling it's good for white, but it's not so easy. Black has some counterplay. I guess he has to go f5. Otherwise, he has no counterplay, I guess. I'm not sure who realized this idea with knight h4 and accepting these pawns can be good. I think it was something Bronstein or something back in the 50s, maybe. I don't know. I don't know much chess history. We also have to look at the other Swedish guy. We have to look at Felix game. He's playing Tryggestad, and apparently, well, my friend wrote and said that Tryggestad almost never plays d4. So I don't know. He probably prepared something. Tuominen usually plays the same as Love, and this time he faced the g3 variation. And I can assure you that Tuominen has no idea of the theory of the g3. Like in his first game, he was completely out of the book already in this position. So after g3 is definitely out of the book here as well. He takes on c4, which I like. it's a very common move, and I mean it's very sensible because of the g3, e4 and e3 doesn't make a lot of sense. So bishop d2, and here we see proof that Felix is definitely out of the book. He goes c5 here, and I'm trying to remember. This is a well-known variation of the in the Catalan. If you take here bishop d2, you go c5. But in this position, white just gets to move knight c3 for free. So white is definitely getting a better Catalan after c5. I mean, you have to go for the stuff with d5. I think. I'm trying to remember the stuff. Knight d5. It's supposed to be okay for black, but it's not so easy. You have to know quite a bit in this variation. I'm actually surprised that Felix took it. He usually plays something extremely solid like this and just develop the pieces. Anyway, c5 doesn't really strike me as extremely clever, but anyway, you just wanna develop the pieces. Knight d7, castles, bishop e7, and well, looking at the structure, I think it's good for Felix that the structure is very symmetrical. It makes it easier to just develop the pieces because, well, Felix is the type of player you really wanna catch him in the opening. If he survives the opening, then he's playing quite good chess. But I mean, his openings, I have to say, they're not that good. Well, rook d1, queen e8. It's obvious that black is extremely cramped here. He's worse for sure, but I mean, if he just gets a couple of moves, I don't know, maybe knight b6 and get the bishop here or something. He's not gonna get it, but yeah, he's worse here. White plays e4, looks really good because e5 is a very strong threat, and I feel like black realizes here that he's much worse. And I think this is one of the good things about Felix. He's very creative. He finds this move b5, which I actually really like because, well, if you take with the queen, we have this move rook b8, and suddenly the pawn on b4 is hanging. I mean, if you take with the knight, I'm guessing maybe bishop a6, maybe even knight b6 is even better because these two are. So I'm actually impressed by this move b5. It's very creative and it looks like a good idea, even though black is definitely worse anyway. But that's what he did. He played queen b3 here. Yes, but he finds this move knight b6, of course. The queen is protecting her. So suddenly he kind of got his pieces out. I mean, he's still worse, but I mean, he kind of developed. And I mean, Felix gains in strength by every move he gets to make, I think. I think he says himself, if he survives the first 15 moves, then he's usually fine. So, yeah, I think he's maybe e4 allowing b5 wasn't extremely accurate. But I mean, there's nothing too serious. Maybe you can go bishop f4, bishop e3 even. Yeah, I mean, white is definitely, maybe even clearly better, but here he's still better. But I mean, black has kind of developed, I think. Okay, knight d4 is actually interesting. So he's attacking this guy again, and I don't think you wanna go bishop d7, right? Because e5, this guy doesn't have a good place to go. But on the other hand, if we go a6, but maybe after e5 you kind of have to go knight d5, just sacrifice a pawn and you get the bishop there. Yeah, why is a pawn up? I mean, maybe. Yeah, but maybe you can start with bishop g4 or something. I mean, f3, sure, white is a pawn up, but I mean, yeah, this is quite typical for Felix, I guess. Maybe he's still just much worse, but I mean, as long as he gets his pieces out, I mean, maybe he's gonna lose, but maybe not. I don't know. Okay, so looking at Eric's game again, he actually went for this knight e2, f5, and white took, bishop takes, and can you go just take this guy and then just castle? Why not? We're threatening knight g3. I mean, if the knight gets to e4, that's fine. If it gets to h5, even better. Yeah, this guy, it can become good. Let's say this, and maybe we're threatening knight, queen a8. There's a lot of heavy traffic on the a8 square today, but I don't know, knight g3. Okay, maybe queen e8. Just protecting this guy a bit more, but knight g3, you have to go back, I guess. Even knight e4. I'm pretty sure white's better. Yeah. Now you can even start with a move like queen c2 or something, and I mean, even knight f5 is an idea, and knight c7 is not an idea. Yeah, I'm not completely convinced by black's positioning. Yeah, but I mean, it feels like there are options. Maybe you can even go bishop e4 here, but I don't like it as much. Yeah, just castles, why not? It's not like he's going to use this rook for anything else anymore. So. Yeah. Okay, how about this idea? Queen f8. But okay, maybe just king g2. I'm not sure, then we have some e4 ideas. King g2, then e4. We have to try something, I guess. Well, I still think this is, and then knight g3 and f5. Yeah, but I thought maybe we could use this bishop for something, but still looks quite bad. Anyway, it looks promising for white, but I'm not completely sure. What else is going? Let's go back to the first board. We have Blomqvist playing. I'm gonna update to get a few more moves and. Okay, so after knight f8 he went this move rook b1. It kind of looks weird, but I guess the idea is after c5 you could just go d5 and this guy on b2 is not hanging. So knight g6, bishop g3, c5, d5. And we got this kind of Benoni structure. Well, if you compare it to the normal Benoni, I think black has a really good Benoni, but that's usually because the regular Benoni is quite bad, I think. Well, knight c4. And if you go b3 here, maybe you can even consider knight a3. And I think, yeah, you're even losing this rook because bishop b2. So, yeah, b3 is not really an option. Knight d2 was played. And, yeah, okay, this is quite clever. You can't really take on b2 because queen c1. And if you go back, you can just take. And this guy is hanging on b7. So, well, knight takes d2. Queen takes d2. Bishop c8. Bishop c8 is... Okay, it looks like a clever move actually, because the bishop, it's not doing much on b7 with the pawn on d5, so it goes back, and probably another idea would be going rook a7 and then over to e7, just putting some more pressure on. And this e5 square as well, but white goes f4 here, very aggressive. And bishop, yeah, I don't know, it's... I actually kind of prefer white in this kind of structure, but I mean, I think objectively it's about equal, but maybe you have this idea, maybe even going to g4, maybe going to f3, and later on you really want to push e5. Another idea I think is important, you never want to go f5. I've seen some people go f4 and then f5, and this knight on e5 is just a monster. You never get mated with anything on e5. If anything, at some point you can go e5 take and then f5, so you don't have this square. Yeah, definitely. But then you want some knight on e4 or something. I don't think you should go e5, f5 immediately, but I think this guy needs to be improved. Maybe to e3, but I think this guy can go to h2. It's still a very complicated position, I feel like. Yeah, it looks It's not really a type of position that Blomqvist usually has. I'm not sure if he's quite comfortable here. I feel like he wants something more classical, you know. He likes playing this Catalan stuff and doesn't really play this Benoni stuff. We also have okay, we haven't looked at this game. We have to look at Westerberg against Philip Lindgren. And well, I was talking about with Philip yesterday what he was going to prepare, and well, we didn't really expect anything because Westerberg is quite difficult to prepare against. We thought maybe he would go for e4, but he wasn't completely surprised when he played. Well, it's a Queen's Gambit, but here he played e3, which is quite typical for Westerberg. He never goes for the main lines. He usually has his own ideas, and he just wants to develop the pieces. He never goes for this knight c3 stuff, or even maybe g3 at some point, but his e3 is more typical of him. He just wants something like this and develop. And yeah, that's exactly what happens as well. It's not the most well, challenging stuff, but in practice I think it's very good if you know the stuff and your opponent doesn't know it. So bishop d6, bishop b2. Everything looks very normal so far, and I would think maybe at some point if black goes c5, this guy on b2 can become really good. This is the type of position you used to play before, right? Yeah. And okay, Philip actually comes up with another idea. He played knight e4, and off the castles, queen e2. He plays this move f5, and this setup I know in the London system. I think Campus played this in the first round against Wigner Wattman and Stefansson, but in that case I think the bishop was on f4 or g3. I don't really see what's wrong with it here. It looks playable, right? Play, sorry? How? Yeah, you can. Yeah, you could try maybe knight, I don't know, knight e1. Yeah, you could consider going f3 at some point, but maybe just you go back with the knight and I don't know. Yeah, this knight looks really good, but same. White can even jump into e5 if he wants to at some point. So I don't really think black can aim to be better already, but I mean, rook d1 looks kind of strange to me. Probably he was afraid of something like c5 at some point, but otherwise I'm not sure what the idea of rook fd1 is. Okay, so
There's an idea for white to take on d5 and play bishop a6.
I mean this idea and bishop a6.
Yeah.
But don't you want to trade these bishops?
Yeah, but yeah, but do you want to attack on the queenside? Because the queenside black has advantage.
Yeah.
Now the pawn they don't be fighting the weakness. I don't know, you won't play rook c1, go on the c line.
I'm not really sure if this is so scary for black. I mean, okay, you don't really want to go c5, but if you just go c6 and don't lose that pawn, then I think it's okay. I don't know, maybe queen f6 or even rook f6 maybe. Maybe something like this, and you can go c6. You want to trade all the bishops? Yeah, maybe. It looks like a game, maybe around equal. But I'm not sure if I want to trade these bishops. Oh, oh crap. Okay, I made too many moves apparently there. Well, queen f6 was actually played in the game, so we actually had some idea behind rook fd1, but I'm not sure what the knight is doing on f1. I'm not completely sure I like this idea, but still it shouldn't be serious. Queen h6. It was a long time ago since I saw Philip attacking so much. You should play on the queen side. Yeah, maybe. Knight e5. And they actually just traded those and played bishop c5. And we get some more exchanges, rook c1, rook f7, so he kind of defends this way. And okay, this is the position they have right now, I think. What are we supposed to think here about this? There's nothing seriously wrong with white's position. Maybe this guy on f1, I'm not super keen on it, but if white manages to play f3 at some point and kick this guy as well, eventually white could be better, but not right now. I mean, maybe move like bishop d4. Bishop d4 maybe. This guy on queen h6, I'm not sure I like it that much either. It's not really attacking anything, but this is complicated. You could even consider like move like f4 at some point here. Just keep attacking. What do you think about this? Because you said earlier, like if you get a pawn to the 6th rank, it's winning all the time and stuff. But I don't think white is winning this, but I don't think he's losing either. Definitely. I mean, I'm kind of worried about this guy on h2. I think this is the weakness white has. Otherwise, I would just walk with the king all the way up here. But I'm slightly worried about this guy. He can't really go h4 because then I would drop to them. This queen can't really go anywhere either. So yeah, it feels like a draw is quite expected here. Black could probably just go queen g6 at some point because, well, you get something like this. And I don't know what's going on. If black wants to win, he has to go e4 at some point, but doesn't seem to work, I think. Yeah. Perhaps easier after queen g6 is to just let it be. Yeah, I don't think I can never get the king to a6. Yeah. I think a draw is likely, but okay, we have another endgame. We have Vigner Vatna Stefansson is playing some other bishop endgame. And well, he's worse, but should be able to draw, I think. Maybe. I'm not sure he is able to draw this, but yeah, of course he has to break through on the queen side somehow. But I mean, okay, let's just make a couple of king moves. And here, if we go king d4, we're not gonna win this because c5, so we can't go king d4. So we have to try something else. Let's try a3 then. But I mean, I'm still. It feels like maybe it's a draw. Like b6. How are you gonna prevent c5? Just take and c5, I guess. And I think black is solid enough to draw this. You can put this guy on h6 as well, just for fun. But well, we saw the game yesterday against Tukayev. He was suffering for the entire game and then just went back and forth. And eventually, he just made a very bad mistake and lost the game. So maybe White's trying for something similar, but it feels like this should be able to draw. This was once again some kind of Dutch defense. I'm just gonna click through it very quickly. He loves playing this Dutch defense. And he appears to be doing it quite well. I would never be able to draw with the Dutch defense, but Yeah, okay, but he's doing alright in this endgame. It's not the most thrilling endgame ever, but okay, f4. Should really go f4? I'm not really sure. I mean, I really want the king on f4, but
Yeah, but you can, yeah, like take two, three. Now you have the option to take four, four.
yeah, I think maybe he was afraid of black going f4 at some point. But otherwise, he would never go this himself, I think. But I'm not sure. But this should be drawable. I don't really see how to stop this idea with b6, c5, and just. Oh, you wanna go c5 here? Yeah, why not? It looks alright. Why not? I don't see how to lose this pawn. You wanna go a4? Yeah, you just take it. King d2, bishop b3, I guess. Maybe I just keep walking in.
Okay,
Yeah. It seems like maybe I have some winning chances here. Maybe it's just completely winning. I'm not sure. King e7 was played. I still feel like you should go c5 here.
Yeah.
Now it's perhaps even better. Because a4 you don't even have to take it.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe you want to take it. Yeah, anyway, white has some winning chances. But I think if he gets to play these moves, I think it's a draw. Okay, let's see. Do we have any other games, or we can take a look at the second board. We have this position with knight h2, knight f5. He played queen f4, so he's obviously not interested in a draw. He could have got some kind of repetition here, but no, he really wants to fight. He's already sacrificed the pawn on b2. You don't want to draw if you sacrifice the pawn. h6, g4, king h1. This is kind of what I don't like about the French defense. Even when I'm playing black, I usually lose this type of positions because I get mated. And when I play white, I don't know what to attack, so I lose the position anyway. But bishop d7, rook b1, queen e3. He's just playing slow, and eventually maybe he's going to push f4, f5. But I mean, if you just look at black's position, what's really wrong with it? I'm not sure. It's extremely solid. And he's a pawn up as well. I mean, maybe later on he can play knight c4. And okay, he actually played knight a5 immediately. This guy might be a problem, but yeah, maybe you can even castle and quickly play king b8, king a8, and you're okay. If you have the time. Probably don't have the time because rook c1. Okay, so he's obviously playing for some kind of long-term compensation, which he probably does have. I don't know, f4, f4, knight c4, queen e2. You have some compensation. It's still very, very interesting. Okay, he actually played c5 here. That's probably good. a4, king c3. So he's going for this. I think the king has to go here in order to defend king b6. But is this still really a draw? King d7 was played. I have no idea if this is a draw or not, but white has some idea with bishop f1 later on. Maybe you can trade the bishops at the right moment, but I'm not even sure if you want to trade the bishops. I don't see how to win after. Yeah. Yeah. Of course, this idea, like you said, This is a problem. Oh, he actually played b4. But anyway, let's say we get all these moves in. I'm not sure. And let's just go king c7. I don't want to let you go into b6. How are you gonna win this? It's not completely clear to me. Ah, okay. He actually played king c7, king d4, so he's obviously not trying to get into this square. So he's trying something else then. Can he at some point try to enter this way? I don't think so, right? Okay, maybe. Let's just make a couple of moves. Bishop f3. Let's get the king somewhere over here. What does black want to do at that point? Because I think the problem is, let's say the king gets here and black gets his king to g7. Here we can play b5. I don't know, and if you go bishop d7, I go b6. And this is winning according to you. Yeah, I still want to get this at some point. Bishop c8. It feels like you're getting closer and closer.
Yeah.
I mean, put the bishop here somewhere. Push h3 and g4 maybe. I mean, he lost that game yesterday. He can lose this endgame as well. But I think the hard time is just playing this position for hours and hours, and I don't think white wants to draw anytime soon. So yeah, he will definitely suffer for a couple of hours. But I mean, that's what you get when you play the Dutch defense. Nah, I'm just kidding. Okay, Mikhailov is okay. He's not really trying to win. It seems like he wants to draw, which I'm not sure black wants, but okay. Hamilton is still thinking here. Is it maybe better to castle here first? No, I actually took on f5. And then maybe black had this queen f8, even though I'm still thinking king g2, this was okay for white. But on the other hand, if you castle first, maybe black doesn't want to trade, he plays bishop h3.
Yeah.
And, well, it seems like you have more counterplay if you keep the bishop, so even though I'm not sure how to face this idea. Okay, let's look at Tourmainen. He is always up to something no good. So I'm gonna update. There we are. After queen b3, knight b6, knight d4. He actually sacrificed this pawn. e5. I actually like this. He took bishop e6 and he's a pawn down, but he has some squares. He has some counterplay. Suddenly this bishop on d2 is not so good. So queen b1, queen c6, bishop d2, and probably if I have to be objective, black is probably just a pawn down for not so much, but it's still, yeah. I mean, a couple of moves ago when he had to play queen e8, you kind of expected he should be happy if it's just a pawn down the opening. So yeah, he actually knew how to pull the trigger when he played b5 and stuff. It's a decent pawn sacrifice. He's gonna be fighting for a draw in this game, but yeah, what are you gonna do? Okay, we have another interesting endgame. We have Eivind Olav Risting here playing white against Bogosian, and I think Risting is the type of guy who knows a lot of theory, so it kind of surprises me when he plays this King's Indian, King's Indian attack stuff. It's what you usually play, right? Yeah. This is what you usually play when you don't want to play theory. But okay, so this is all well known. And queen e2. I actually like this idea with queen e1, e4, and then queen e2. It makes a lot of sense to me, but it doesn't really make much of an advantage, I guess. Like anything else. A5, I'm not sure. Is this still theory? Is it any theory after this move? I have no idea. No, it's interesting. I mean, it's more about develop the pieces and get a game position. Yeah. And this is the type of move that I actually hate. I don't like moves like rook e8. Whenever I see a player make rook e8, I usually just stop watching those games. But I mean, it looks like Black is just running out of ideas. He doesn't know where to put the pieces, so he just puts the rook on his own square. I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense. I would go. Yeah, he plays knight a6 on the next move. I have no idea what this move has to do with rook e8. So I would just go knight a6 immediately if that was the plan. And it feels like maybe white's slightly better here. Knight e5. And yeah, he's preparing f4. So okay, so here at least he has a plan. Knight c5, f4, and oh, this is actually pretty. This might be. This is actually pretty. He played knight a4, takes queen b6, and he gets back the piece on b2. I have absolutely no idea if this is good or maybe even losing, but it's very pretty. I mean, I like this. Well, I mean, king h1, queen takes b2, knight b3. This guy might actually get trapped, but I don't think so. Queen c3 is a decent enough square. I'm not sure where the queen is supposed to go from here, but I don't really know how to attack it. So we actually just exchanged it. So what are we gonna say about this endgame? Why? I mean, yeah, black has the bishop pair, and usually when you have the doubled a pawn, white is the one who has the bishop pair because black has played some bishop takes a3 stuff, right? So I think the good news for white is that this pawn is kind of a problem. I mean, if you go, rook f b8 next move, you have to go rook b8 or something passive. So you want to trade this knight on e5. I think that's gonna be difficult right now, at least. But yeah, I don't really see how white's supposed to be better here. I mean, this bishop on g2 right now, it's not doing much. The knight on e5 is the best piece you have, but it's still not attacking anything. Black has one weakness, and this is a weakness as well. But yeah, I'm not completely convinced by this endgame. Yeah. On the other hand, the bishop on h6, it's not a good bishop. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think you want to play extremely slow with black. Maybe move the knight somewhere, play f6, king f8, and just get the bishop somewhere. Just play very slowly. I don't think this is horrible for white, but I mean, I don't think he has an advantage if you. Rook e8. Problem is, I guess, rook b1. But then knight b3. This is starting to get some problems with the pawns. So yeah, yeah. Of course, you can play rook a7, but I mean, this isn't perfect. Maybe rook b3 and then just double. Oh, you can take on e4. Yeah, that's actually a good idea. Yeah. Okay, so maybe we should take on d5 first. Knight takes d5, rook b3. Oh yeah, knight e3. Oh, he actually took on e4 immediately. Might be okay. I mean, you don't want to take with the pawn because rook d8 or something. Yeah, you can't really move it. I think black is doing alright. Maybe he's slightly better. What else is going on? Hmm. Okay, let's look at Tukayev's game. So I'm gonna update. So we had this position knight a5, rook c1, knight c4, and he just went knight a3, okay? I did not expect this. So this turned rather quickly. I mean, this is quite sharp now. Bishop takes c4. D takes c4, king g1, knight d5. Suddenly black's pieces look good. I mean, the bishop is really strong, this guy is a monster. I guess this is the idea for white, but I'm still not sure how good it is. Queen g3, and he played c3, so he's still a pawn up, right? Still a pawn up. And I still feel like black is doing well here. Or I'm missing something completely. Wait, can you play knight c4 here? But how dangerous is this check? Maybe it is dangerous, I mean. Okay, so let's castle. It looks dangerous, but I mean, is g5 really something to worry about? Let's take maybe queen e7. I don't think you're getting mated, but okay, now you can take back a pawn on c3. So. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I'm kind of worried about being a pawn down, actually. I'm more like Blomqvist. Yeah, I mean, it feels like black has gained something. I don't think this knight on d6 is too scary, but maybe I'm just... It's really difficult to evaluate this, because if this g5 stuff works, then it's just mate. And I mean, you also have to consider like h6 at some point, knight g4. Yeah, this is very tricky. It's dangerous to evaluate this, but I think it feels like maybe black is doing better. Um, okay, so we actually have something happening in Carlsen's game. What's going on here? We had this endgame. White was just repeating moves. Black did not want to draw, so he just played bishop g5, queen f6, and he found a way to exchange the bishops. Of course, this is the bad bishop, and this is the good bishop. But I mean, take queen b8. This is interesting. This is actually very interesting. I mean, okay, let's say I don't think we have time to walk with the king because black is very quick with e4. And I mean, even king d3 I don't think works because queen h7 still get e4. On the other hand, yeah, we can even start checking here, right? And what is? Yeah, we actually have this. I mean, let's just take a pawn. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what's happening. Let's say king d3 here because we don't have queen h7. King h4. The thing is, you kind of have to be careful because even if you take it, let's ignore the h5 pawn. We can even check and play like queen d7 stuff. And this is also dangerous. So I think it's dangerous for both players to play for a win here. Definitely if white tries to play for a win because black is very quick with e4 and f3. So yeah, queen h8 looks very natural. Maybe even... Oh, sorry, that's the wrong position. Can you play queen g8? Just trying to lock the king on h6. What is black supposed to play now? Maybe queen g7, but we have queen e6 and stuff. I actually like this kind of endgame. I'm not sure who's... Okay, white is definitely not better, but I don't think black can win this without anything special happening. Yeah. But okay, let's say if we trade the queens, then black will win.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely gonna win if we trade the queens. So
It's a long road to
yeah. But I mean, if we just get like an endgame like this, we can probably play just king g5. So even if we go h4 here, we have king f5 and then e4. So we can trade the queens. Unless it's on d7. Of course, king d3 is actually played. But what's happening after queen h7? Maybe he wants to go king d2, e4 and just take this guy. Queen takes e7.
First check on f8.
I'll check on f8. No, or
Not takes e4, queen f8 check.
ah, you have the check here. Yeah, that's very good.
Something.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, okay, after 2 b5
yeah, we have this check. Well, of course, this is still interesting, but I mean, I think you can just take her, and this should be a draw.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe this king d3 is not so. But it looks strange to go king d3 check and king d2. It doesn't really look like much, but still, I'm not sure how. Oh, okay, wow. He actually found this move, king f7. You wanna go king e4? I don't think you wanna go king e4. But this is a very, very annoying move because this is another threat now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and king c4, then I think this is very dangerous.
Yeah.
So king f7 is perhaps a very good move.
Maybe I can go check.
Oh, you can start with this, but then king g5, queen d8, king g6. I don't want to draw.
Okay.
Whoa, it's apparently he played king c4.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and why is this not losing immediately? Feels like it's losing immediately. Okay, I have to try something, check or something. But just king g6. There are no checks. He's losing immediately, right?
Okay, if I take on e4.
Take on e4, f3. This looks very passive.
Yeah, it's very passive.
Just queen f3, just. Yeah, I think Coulson is actually winning.
Can you go first?
Are you sure you don't want to sit here? You can see much more on my screen. Yeah, but I mean e4 is just winning, right? Yeah, I have no idea what's going on. I mean, your check on h8 must have been much better.
Yeah.
Even though this is still maybe bad, but I mean you can try maybe, I don't know, king e2 here, just something. And if you take, you can take on c7. You have some kind of counterplay, but what kind of counterplay do you have after e4? Yeah. Okay, that was a very strange game. Update. Even though I think black is winning that game. Can look at no. Yeah, I can look at this game. Hansen against Mayor. We had this position. He played knight h2, so yeah, we have some couple of weak squares here. Knight e6, knight f3, c6, queen d2. I think this is where we left. Queen b6 was played. Knight g4, c5. So he actually went for this idea with c5, and I'm pretty sure he has to because this guy was so bad on a8. Well, white has to take on c5. Queen takes. Knight g5, and I don't think you want to take on g5 because later on you might have run into e6 and this guy on b2 becomes a monster. Like I'm pretty sure e6 is a threat immediately because there's sacrifices and stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think d4 what Mayorov played looks much better because suddenly this is the monster.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's quite funny. Like 4 moves ago, look at the bishop, and now after d4 it's a monster. Yeah, he played c6 and c5. I think maybe white.
There's some players in this tournament that had a problem playing C5.
Yeah, yeah. There are been a lot of games where black has played c5 in. Well, he didn't manage to play c5. But I mean, yeah, maybe this is just good for black because we don't have the control of the d4 square.
Yeah.
Like take queen takes, we never get the chance to put something on e3. So, well, this looks quite bad now. If you don't have anything tactical like a sacrifice, but I don't really see how. You can maybe play knight e4. I mean, you have to take it, right? This wins a rook.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe it's not so bad for white. Let's take with the rook because it's fun. And, well, this is an idea.
Yeah.
White still has some kind of attack going. So, yeah. The bishop was very nice, but maybe just for one move. Yeah. Feels like white's still playing well. I'm a bit worried about this guy. Don't really see how it's supposed to wake up, but he could go bishop c4 at some point, maybe. Oh, okay, Vesterberg's game. Something has happened here.
Yeah, I told you.
Yeah, but what's going on? Okay, we left around here, right? Rook f7. He played f3 immediately. Knight g5, king h1, knight e6. So we have a very good knight on e6. Blockades everything. Bishop a6. Like you said, he's trying to attack on the queen side. But he gives up a pawn on e3. But queen b7, he's gonna pick up this guy or this guy. But this is still unclear, right? Let's move the rook somewhere. Rook f8. Which pawn do you want to take? With the... I'll put the rook, right? With the queen? Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I'm not sure how to evaluate this, but I mean, if it just... If there's no tactics in the position, then I think white is doing well here. This guy is not really stable anymore. That means this is a weakness and e6 can come at some point, so... Yeah, maybe white's doing very well here. Rook d8 is probably better, right? So if you take on d5 now, probably have to take it, right? But I don't know, knight f4.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
Maybe you can take
Yeah, it can be a check, maybe.
take on c7. Seems to be okay for white, right? I mean, okay. If you don't get mated, then you're winning with white. So yeah, I'm not completely sure what black has done, and he's worse on time as well, which is quite likely because Philip usually plays very slowly. But yeah, I don't like what has happened here. It feels like he's struggling, and I mean, I really want something like this pawn on f7 now.
Yeah,
Now you kind of regret playing this move f5. If the pawn was here, then this knight is fabulous, but not now, unfortunately. Um, Okay. Theodore against Milton. Let's make another try of understanding what's going on. This bishops. Did he really play g6 here? I'm not sure I like g6. It feels like suddenly those bishops are rather good actually. But maybe something's happening in the center that I'm not picking up right now. But white has to be better, right? I mean, you could even play something like this. I don't think it's the best, but knight g5 and just put something on e4, maybe queen f3. Yeah, this bishop looks it looks good, but okay, it's still quite unclear actually. But yeah, I think it's maybe easier to play white than black because of these bishops. But yeah, okay, let's look at Felix. What has happened here? Is he winning? This is so typical Felix. I don't know what happens, and 5 minutes later he's winning. But I have to look. What's happening here? We left somewhere around here, right? Knight c4, bishop g5, a6, and the knight is trapped. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna stop commenting on Felix games. I have no idea what's going on apparently. So, well, he managed to trick. He found some tactics, and apparently he's just. But this is still losing. I mean, the two pieces are too strong here, I think. Besides, this king can be weak, so. No, I mean, he has some counterplay, but I mean, objectively it should be winning. I mean, this knight can go to d4. Yeah. I mean, it should be able to get to d4, even though it's not there right now, but. Okay, a4, queen c4, I guess. You can even go f5 and knight e4. Objectively has to be winning for black. I don't know even know what to say. I mean, a couple of moves ago we had this position with black. Suddenly, like, not even 5 moves later, this guy on b5 was trapped. I think he's a master of finding stuff when it when it really needs to. I mean, imagine Felix playing if he had really good openings. I mean, he would be a 2600 grandmaster for sure. His openings are, yeah, I know 1500 players who know a lot of more openings than Felix does, unfortunately. But I mean, Felix is really good at finding these things. He's much better than I am at finding these things. He's very resourceful, which is supposed to be a compliment if you're watching this later, Felix. Okay, what happens here? King c4, he's still thinking, Cosmo, but e4 has to be winning. In this game, okay, risking took with a knight on e4. Maybe that's a good idea. Knight takes e4. And I'm not sure. How is this endgame? Let's try. If we take on e4, we probably want to take with the bishop here, right? You don't want a bishop pair. But I mean, if we take here, if we have time, we might be able to play moves like rook b1 followed by knight c4. And the knight is quite good here, protecting and attacking and doing all kinds of stuff. So maybe this is okay for white. Maybe this d takes e4 wasn't perfect for black. Yeah, but still, knight takes e4 was a very good idea instead of d takes e4. Okay, maybe black can try something else so we don't get this structure, but I mean, it feels like white is doing well again. Maybe if the knight gets to c4 and rook b1, white is even better because we have so many weaknesses. But yeah, it's always hard to evaluate when you have this pawn structure, but it looks at least okay for white. Maybe even more. Okay, let's look at Tampa's game. We haven't looked at it. Okay, so we have King's Indian. We have lots of King's Indian or Real Lopez in this tournament. And he plays the Petrosian variation. I actually really like this variation now, but I know that he's been playing it for a long time. A5, obviously with the idea knight a6, knight c5, and we can't really kick it with b4 anymore. And there is a problem if you start with knight a6. White has a very clever move, knight d2. And this guy on a6 is kind of stuck, because if you go into the center, then b4. So a5, bishop g5, h6 is a clever move to begin with, bishop h4. This is all the, what do you call it, the old main line of the Petrosian. I think Kramnik used to play this aggressive stuff with bishop e3, but I'm not sure. Okay, castles here. I'm not too familiar with this actually. I usually play knight d2 immediately. I'm not sure about this knight e1 stuff. I haven't seen this before. But I know that Hampus has played this many times, so he knows this better than I do. Knight h7. Black is playing the regular stuff. He got out of the pin with queen e8, moves the knight. Eventually, he might play f5. Or there is another idea which you see here. After f3, there's this idea h5. And this guy on g7 can reappear on h6. So knight d3. I'm not sure if this is theory anymore, but usually in this type of line, white wants to play very slowly b3, a3, rook b1, then b4, c5. And when you play this move h5, suddenly f5 is not really as strong, because, well, it doesn't fit well together with h5. So bishop d7, bishop f2, all very logical. c5 might be a threat now. b6, we see here Hampus is playing a very sensible plan with b3. And black plays f5 anyway, which probably he has to, because he has no other plan. And white plays a3. This game is actually really interesting. I'm gonna look at this closer. g5. I'm not always a big fan of playing g5 so quickly, because at some point maybe white can take on f5 and we have the square. But usually, yeah, that would be the approach when you just go all in, you just don't attack. But I mean, isn't this kind of slow? I mean, you go b4 here. I mean, g5, I go c5. Feels like white is faster here. You're not really threatening g4 yet. So. I think white has a very good King's Indian here. And after g5, yeah, we play the same thing. b4, knight f6, c5. I think Hampus is doing really well here. He knows his openings really well, and maybe I should start learning from him. He takes queen g6, c6, queen f4. And this is always the issue with the King's Indian. Objectively, maybe white is much better or even winning, but I mean, one small move and apparently everything can you just get mated. So I mean, looking at the queen side, white is obviously winning here. We have this idea with knight b5, knight a7 even. This guy is hanging. You really want to take this guy if you get the chance to. On the other end, if you look at the king side, white is almost mated. I want to play a move like king h1 or something so I can protect later, but okay, I'm gonna say that this is Hampus' problem now. He's the one who gets mated if something goes bad. Queen g6. It feels like maybe there was something more immediate here, but maybe there isn't. Because usually when I have this position, I have the knight on d2, so I have the square on c4. But okay, I mean, this has to be. It's extremely interesting. I mean, this guy playing black. When you play the King's Indian, you don't really care about the queen side. You just look on this side of the board. You just throw all the pieces on white king and hope that, yeah, you just throw everything at the king and you hope that something sticks and it gets mated. So yeah. Okay, let's look at this game. Well, after knight c4, he did castle short. Yes, I actually predicted a move. f6, so f6 was quite surprising for me. But it might be really good, because if we say f4, if you open up here, it feels like this king is actually getting weaker than this king. The rook on f8 is really good. I want to use this bishop somehow, I'm not sure. I don't see the mates, but it looks scary. I mean, maybe queen e7, queen g5. Maybe, oh, knight f4. We have all kinds of threats. Yeah, I like f6. Maybe after f4 or something you can take. No, you can't even take back with the d pawn. f4 is hanging, so.
But if you go back after constant, the idea with G5,
Yeah,
I really like that.
but g5. Okay, let's take this one. You have to take it once at least.
Yeah, no, it's
You wanna go h6 immediately?
just opening
Okay, I'm gonna take that too. I'm like Bloomquist. I take everything. Knight g4. Let's try king 8 g7. Because soon this is a big threat now at least.
Yeah,
So if it's not made immediately, then you kind of survive. And I mean, this guy you could take, but queen e7 is an option. Maybe you can even go f6 here actually.
yeah.
That's even better actually, f6. But yeah, maybe black is just playing really well here. I'm not really sure I like white's position. Yeah, I definitely don't like white's position. How do you get compensation when you have a knight on h2 here?
It's a hard question, man.
Yeah, I mean there was a lot of tactics around move 20 when he started playing knight a3 and stuff. But it feels like maybe black was just doing much better there. Maybe he should have good f4 and queen e2 and played for this f5 stuff anyway. So yeah, I think black is actually on playing really well and might win this game. And yeah, Bayram has been playing really well. I think he used to be much higher rated than he is now. He's on like 2450, and he used to be almost 2600, I think. So he definitely has a lot of potential, and
Yeah, grandmaster.
he's a grandmaster. And he completely crushed Vesterberg yesterday, in like 25 moves, maybe 30 moves.
I saw that game 96 with J.
Yeah. Okay, so not too much is happening on the other boards. Or there's some kind of problem with the transmission, I'm not sure. I think I'm gonna take a small break in like 5 or 10 minutes because there are no moves going on, but yeah, I'll be back in like a couple of minutes. Alright, see you. Okay, we're back and we have another guest. We have Philip Lindgren, who actually won his game against Westerberg very quickly after we left. So, were you surprised by the choice of opening?
Yeah, I was mainly preparing against e4, so
Yeah, I already said that. Well, anyway, I don't know. He has played some college stuff before, so I guess
yeah.
it's not the first time he plays this. But
I'm not sure about. I was hoping that he would go knight c3, and then I played c6, and then
yeah, but he never goes into some main lines.
yeah. So
yeah, he always has some weird ideas on where to put the pieces, but
yeah,
he never goes for like the main line. So this is quite.
I was thinking that he would play queen c2 just to stop knight e4.
Oh, okay.
It was an option at least.
So now you have to go for something else, like castling and maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know, playing for c5 at some point.
Yeah, I was thinking about c5 at this point because, yeah, some rook c8 quickly and.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I think I should be fine here.
I guess it's quite likely that all these pawns disappear at some point. And we have quite a symmetrical position, but well, bishop b2, knight e4. I was. Did you see Hampus' game during the first round? He played something very similar against the London with the bishop on g3.
Actually, I was thinking about to go queen f6 directly. Just to put it on h6. I'm not sure.
So playing without f5.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, why not? I mean, I can't really see a way to make use of it. But
yeah, but f5 is a nice move, I think.
Yeah.
Black should have no problems there.
I was not completely convinced by this idea with rook fd1 and knight f1. It looked strange to me, but at least it's not getting mated on h2.
The knight on f1 is.
It looked kind of passive, but knight e5, I guess. Did you expect knight e5?
Yeah, I was expecting knight e5. And
how did you evaluate this position? We weren't sure what was going on.
It looked a bit strange to me. I wasn't sure.
Yeah,
because I thought I was if he plays like slow move like a3 or something. I have some f4 ideas.
Yeah, we were looking at f4 as well. It seemed like you have some good chances here. But
actually, maybe I can take. Considering to take on f2 directly.
Oh, take on f2 immediately and then f4.
Yeah, I'm sure it's worth it. Just some nice lines to calculate.
Yeah, you have some threats taking here and rook f2. So yeah, sure, why not? Looks like fun. Well, they took on d5.
Yeah,
we still had no idea if this was good or bad for you. Well, f3. Do you expect f3?
I was thinking either f3 or bishop d4. I was.
Yeah, bishop d4 is what I thought, but I wasn't sure about f4 here.
f4, then.
Okay, maybe he can just take here, take on c5 actually.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I'll take on e4.
Yeah. Okay, so f4 doesn't really work. But then what are you gonna play here?
I was thinking about many moves. I don't know, I can't play my bishop a3, but then I will probably go back.
Bishop b2.
Yeah.
So you have some kind of draw here.
But yeah, I'm not sure. I had other options as well.
Yeah. Well, I guess this is. I wasn't sure what was going on here anymore.
Actually, if you go back, after f3, I wanted to play f4 again, but I couldn't. It was a mess. Maybe it's not working.
f4.
And I guess.
What's going on? Let's take the piece.
And take on e3.
Okay, so are you threatening rook f2?
Rook f2 is a threat. Yeah. I was thinking maybe take on c5.
Oh, take on c5, yeah.
And now rook.
Oh, you can play rook f2 anyway, because queen e3 you can take on f1.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, that's nice. But I don't know, queen g4?
Yeah, queen g4.
I guess you have to take on c5.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know, bishop c1.
Uh-huh.
or d4.
But this looks.
I don't
Maybe this is good for me. Yeah, d4 is playable.
This looks so complicated. Yeah. I mean, knight g5 was the sensible move. f4 wasn't really the Philip move to put on. You want the logical stuff. King h1, knight e6.
Yeah, and here.
So bishop a6.
Maybe bishop a6 was not. Maybe this was a mistake.
Yeah, because we looked at the position of the queen b7 and realized that maybe we weren't sure about your position, but apparently we missed something quite important.
Yeah, I have some tricks that he probably missed. I was thinking that he would play. I mean, f4 is an option, but I would probably play g5 just to.
Oh, g5. Yeah. I mean, if you at some point get to play d4, this guy can be really good.
Yeah.
So yeah, opening up the g5 is
So maybe not f4. I was thinking he could go some a3. I'm not sure. I would probably a3. I would probably play a5. I guess.
I don't really like this for white anymore. I don't have this bishop d4 idea anymore, and if f4 doesn't work, I just get mated off to g5. I mean, what is this knight doing? It's still a problem.
Okay.
So, well, bishop a6. Let's see how you refuted this stuff. Well, you took the pawn, obviously. Yeah. Queen b7.
Because if it takes d5 directly.
Here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Take on d5.
I think I can play some knight f4.
Knight f4. Well, you're threatening a rook.
Yeah.
Not much I can see, but
queen f2 is also the idea.
Okay, yeah. This is also a pretty annoying move. I don't see how to stop that actually. How about queen b7 now?
Can you play queen b7? Yeah.
I don't know what the idea is, but I'm threatening something.
If so move rook e8.
Rook e8. I don't know, queen c6.
That's just to sack the exchange.
Exchange?
Okay, that was me. Sorry.
Yeah. I don't know, just to keep annoying.
Okay, I play rook f8 instead.
Okay, you play rook f8 here. I'm a tricky guy. I don't know, I still want to go like e6 at some point, just get this guy. Can you go e6?
Okay. I take with queen?
Yeah, probably then. I don't know, rook e5.
Rook e5.
Okay, but you're a pawn up here.
Yeah, no, I'm a pawn up, but you still have some problems. For example, queen g6.
Oh yeah, still not out of the woods, I guess. But yeah, you're threatening all kinds of stuff. I don't know what happened.
Can you play after knight f4 here? Can you play rook d4? Is it working?
Rook d4.
That's strange. No.
Yeah, maybe rook d4. But you can play queen e2, right? That's a very nice idea. Okay, threatening pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Okay, so queen b7 was played in the game. Rook d8. Rook takes d5, and it took everything. This is we looked at all of this. We weren't sure what was going on. What happens if you take on c7? Am I missing something? Okay, you have knight d3.
Knight d3 also.
Okay, I didn't see this.
Yeah.
Okay, this is starting to.
There's a lot of threats. So.
Yeah, this is annoying. Check and c4, king h8, queen c8. Yeah.
Is it mate? Yeah.
Okay, so this is probably not good then. Okay, play queen g5.
Yeah, but Queen g5 didn't see this line, but okay, h6 is
Yeah,
it's a
okay,
nice
so
move.
his pieces are just hanging, I guess. f4, g5, and he resigned.
Yeah,
Well, he's losing the queen, right? Because he's getting mated otherwise.
yeah.
Alright, well, good game. I definitely didn't see all of this after bishop a6.
Yeah, maybe it doesn't work simply. That was a long
Yeah.
variation. Difficult.
I didn't realize there were so many problems with g2 and knight d3 stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, apparently his position is probably just bad here if bishop a6 doesn't work. So bishop a6, take on e3.
Yeah, this I was thinking about. Yeah, c6 was an option, and I was thinking about d4. Okay, maybe take.
I think queen c4.
Yeah. Maybe this.
Yeah, some player.
And just take on d4 next for white.
Take on d4. Oh yeah. Yeah, you're right. Okay, so maybe rook c6 is a better try. Yeah, seems like.
Maybe knight c5.
Knight c5. Ah, okay.
Queen b5, a6.
Queen b5, a6. Very nice idea. Well, this looks like something.
No.
Well, okay, congratulations. Good game. Unfortunately, you still have to wait for me, but you can't go home already. But yeah, a couple of games are still going on, unfortunately. But well, you won your game with black. I guess you're happy about it.
Yeah. I improved my score against Westerberg as well. So.
Yeah. So you have 2 straight wins in a row, actually. If you won.
Yeah, I have. Actually.
Yeah, you won last summer as well.
The trend is going.
Yeah.
Fine.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
And well, I should perhaps mention that there are a lot of games that are actually finished. I should perhaps update. On second board, Bayram actually won the game very quickly against Tukayev. After f6 is much better. Let's see how the game ended. He actually sacrificed an exchange on c3 here. It looks like nowhere near enough compensation, but yeah, he just gave back the exchange actually. And now he's a pawn up on this guy on c6. It's looking quite good. Rook e8, rook d8, and apparently he resigned here. Looks a bit early, but I guess it leads to some kind of endgame where these are just weakness, and this guy on h2, and I mean a2 is also weakness. I mean, maybe it's early to resign, but it's losing. I wouldn't resign, but yeah, I don't know where to resign. We also have another game finished. Mikhailov lost his game against Kozan. Like I said, after queen f7. So I'm gonna update to get rid of those. But I did really not understand this move, king c4. After e4 it just looked like he was completely losing, and apparently that's what happened. Queen b1, took, queen e4, and yeah, this pawn endgame is just over. I'm not sure. Yeah. Looks like a pretty good win by Kozan actually, even though I think the first, well, maybe 25 moves were prepared, but so were whites, so it seemed like maybe Mikhailov has some preparation to do in this King's Indian, even though he won a very nice game yesterday, so yeah, the theoretical battle continues, I suppose. And well, Mikhailov didn't really not look happy after the game, understandably. You never like losing to people you know well. So yeah, let's look at this, because I think Kenneth Goog is really in trouble here. Well, looking at the material, he's one pawn down, yeah? And black's pieces are looking really good. I mean, the knight is coming into e5. This bishop is really good. I mean, White has decent bishops, but they're not really attacking anything. We're gonna see what happened here actually. Sorry, he played a4 and a5, rook e4, but this does not look right. Apparently he blundered here. He missed knight takes b4, and well, I don't really know what to say, because this is the type of move you really can't miss if you're gonna play at this level, because it's not a difficult tactic actually. I think Kaneskog is quite upset with himself here, and apparently rook e4 was just not a good idea. So it seems like Milton, who's playing extremely well in this tournament, he's the Swedish guy we're rooting for here, because everyone else they're doing kind of what expected, but I mean Milton is really doing well. I think he's on 2.5 out of 4 if he wins this game, and except for Theodore, he's only been playing 2400 guys. So yeah, he's definitely on his way to maybe playing for an international master norm. And I mean, he's still only 15 years old. He's very young and very talented. So yeah, I'm definitely hoping for Milton to do well in this tournament. And we also have this game. Felix is once again just winning everything, I think. Yeah, we had some endgame. I'm gonna see how we trade the queens. Okay, so White apparently wanted to trade the queens, but this endgame is just completely losing. Felix has actually pretty good technique. Doesn't know a lot of the theoretical endgames, but I mean he knows where to put the piece, and he plays logical chess. So yeah, endgames aren't really his weakness. He's playing well. Rook b2, g2. I mean he should be winning in a couple of moves. F2 appears to be falling any time, but yeah, he's gonna win. And I don't think Tryggestad is very happy with himself, considering the position of the 12 moves, but
Yeah.
okay, knight. I was looking at knight b5, but probably it doesn't work because knight b6, and yeah. Well, good for Felix at least. We also have another result incoming. I mean, Black is gonna win this game. I think it's 2 Indians who are playing each other. Rakesh Kumar is playing Tikka Sahel. Black is gonna win this. He's up in exchange, and this pawn on d2 is nothing to laugh about. He's gonna win. And Hampus is struggling, I think. Yeah, I mean, pawn structure on the queen side still look nice, but on looking at the king side, he's almost mated. I mean, he shouldn't be mate, but I mean, it looks kind of strange. The king on g1, I'm a bit worried here. After rook e1, bishop f3, Black got in some tactics here with bishop d3, h4, and this is no fun. Rook f8. I don't think he's losing, but I mean, the position doesn't look nice. The good thing is that this guy is definitely not participating in the game. Can you play a move like, I don't know, king g2? Or not, maybe queen e2? He's still fighting, but it feels like the trend is not with him. Hampus. It feels like maybe it's not that bad, but yeah. Okay, do we have any other games? We haven't looked at this game in a while. Hamilton against Thorn. A lot of things happen when I take a break. I should take more breaks. So we have an endgame where Black is completely loose. No, wait, we have knight c3. But he's still completely losing, right? Knight c3. Yeah, and which pawn should you pick up first? I'm gonna take this pawn first, I think. And then go back, and he's down 1 pawn. This guy is gonna fall eventually. This is weak. This has to be winning. But on the other hand, if I go this way, then knight c3 and you pick up this pawn.
Yeah, okay.
So I mean, you still have to be careful, but I'm pretty sure white has to be.
Just take c2 and
Break a knight c3, take here.
Yeah.
King c2 immediately.
Yeah.
Okay, then bishop g7 or b7, e7. Oh wait, can I play bishop takes f6? I'm not in time, am I? I wanted something like this, but I think white is quick enough here. Okay, maybe you can try. But I mean, if you get this position and I put the bishop here, how are you gonna? Okay, maybe that was maybe too much, but I mean, it feels like white is winning this. There are too many weak pawns, and white is just doing very well. And yeah, do we have anything else? Let's update. Blomqvist. We haven't seen Blomqvist in a while, and he's doing well, isn't he? Those pawns look dangerous here. I mean, c3 at right moment. I don't really see how white is supposed to attack here. I think Blomqvist is doing really well. I'm gonna see what happened in this game because... Oh no. Did he really go f5? I told you can't go f5. Okay, maybe I'm not completely convinced by what's position here anyway, but... Okay, I don't think this is too much to worry about. I don't really understand this, but what's rook f3? And what is bishop e2? Okay, bishop e2 stops b4 for one move, but... Okay, he's preparing bishop h4. But he's not getting mated. No, I think Blomqvist is just outplayed Hauber in these complications. It appears that way. Okay, let's look at this. Mad Sanson is playing Mayorov, and it's equal material, but this guy on h3. I mean, if this pawn was on g4, black would be winning, right? Yeah. But I mean, now he's not winning, right? Well, obviously black can't trade queens, and he's gonna lose because... Yeah, so I don't know, queen c2? And queen... Maybe not even queen d2, you can go bishop d4. Feels like white is doing really well here. Yeah, I wanna take this guy, so I don't know, g5 is kind of desperate, but... No, g5 can't be right. You can't play a move like g5, right? You can just take here. And if you go check, I go king g2, and you can't go queen b1 or something because I'm threatening f7. Maybe you can go like queen h7. But maybe you can just go king g1 later and you have nothing. No, I think Hansen is, well, he's better definitely. I'm not sure if he's gonna win this game, but he's doing really well so far. What happened? Where did my queen go? So I'm gonna have to update. There's my queen. He took my queen. So it's probably official that black is fighting for a draw. Yeah, but he can't exchange the bishops, right? He played bishop e7. Let's take h3. Probably he has some idea with rook c6 and he wants to go here, but even then, I mean, bishop d4 or something. No, I don't think. I don't think you're winning this easily, but I mean, white is definitely pushing. He's a pawn up for pretty much nothing. What else is there? Butner. Sorry. Still has the same bishop endgame. I think it's a draw. I'm gonna just look at the last couple of moves to assure myself that he's not getting anywhere. So the king just got there, and white is just walking around with the bishop trying to find ideas. He has no ideas, right? No, I can't see anything either. Has to be a draw. But white is gonna try, but he has much worse time. Stefansson is playing quickly and quite good, so... Okay, we have another endgame. Feels like we missed an entire game. It's a completely new position every time we look at the games. I like this pawn structure. But white is struggling here, right? Because I think this guy is very close to falling, and then we have a new queen rather quickly. Okay, but we have to move this guy. We have to go bishop f7 first, right? Yeah, he did play bishop f7, bishop f1, king d6. Yeah, this looks very bad. But it's also a kind of race, because white's gonna go here and try to do something with this pawn, but I don't know, king e5 looks even better. Yeah, I think black is going to win this actually. Doesn't look nice, but yeah, I think he's struggling with this thing. And Milton, how is Milton doing? He is... What's the material? Still, it's equal material, right? But white is threatening this, is threatening this. But on the other hand, these two pawns are very dangerous. But what is happening really? Rook e8 maybe?
Yeah.
Rook e8. And if you go like knight e7, you might at some point just take on e7. And I don't know, something like... Yeah, and then take here next move. I think. There are a lot of stuff hanging in this game, so it's kind of difficult to calculate all the takes and not takes, but... Okay, even this maybe take on f2, but we can take on d3 first. We don't want to do that. Still, I have a lot of respect for these pawns. They are very dangerous. I have a feeling that black is still doing really well, even though I have trouble calculating everything. And I was just thrown into this position. And how is Eric doing? He's lost b4 as well. And he's trying h6, but this is not gonna be enough. He's gonna lose this. Yeah. Felix, however, he is extremely solid. He's gonna win this, right? Yeah. I wonder if he has to mate with bishop and the knight against the king. He has no idea how to mate with the bishop and the knight against the king. I think he's gonna play something like king e5, just not dropping any pawns. Maybe even king g5 actually. No, he has no idea. No, he doesn't know how to mate with two bishops. Well, rook, he's gonna play king g5 or something like. But yeah, king g5 is a very nice move actually, because the king is actually trapped there. He can't do anything, so he has to go like rook e6 here. And how do you win the easiest? I would go something like, I really don't want to move these pieces, but I don't see how to win without moving them. So something like this, knight e5, and yeah, just take this guy, then...
Yeah.
I think that would be the easiest way for Felix to win without allowing anything special. But okay, if we go e2, let's take on f6. Can we do anything here? It's not so easy, right? King e5 and rook f8, and you have to like mate with rook and bishop.
Yeah.
Sorry, with the knight and bishop. Actually, this he might know how to win because the king is already trapped here.
Yeah.
He can't get out, but still, it can't mate in this corner. I think so. Yeah, like I said, he tries to keep the pawn. King e5. He's extremely afraid of going into this endgame. I wanna try for some. Can't really go for any stalemate tricks, right? Like g5, give the rook, but we always have this square on h2, unfortunately. Rook b5. I don't know, king d4. King e4. And then back, rook b6. No, king d4 should be better, right? And rook b6, then you just go here. He did play king e4.
Huh.
Rook b6, can he go... Can we go knight g6? Just knight f4, then e2. We might get something like this. And in the end, it's not really stalemate because we have g5 and knight g3 mate. I don't know, I'm just making moves. It's fun to make moves, but he's gonna win that game, no trouble at all. Hauber is playing Blomqvist. He's trying. This is desperate. He played rook f5 actually. Now he's gonna lose anytime. Yeah, it's not getting made. He could just go g5 here. And I mean, look at the pieces. And we have a new queen coming here. So yeah, White is gonna resign soon. Still a really good game by Blomqvist. So. No, never. I've never seen him play the structure. I think so, yeah. And well, we have this endgame. It's gonna be a while because, well, Hansen is gonna push and Majorov is gonna defend. There are actually some ideas. If you get the rook to the first rank, check. You have this idea with e6 actually. We have a mate on rook h8. That's something to watch out for, but I mean, it shouldn't be a problem. The king is actually kind of weak on g8. What else do we have? Vignir is gonna suffer for another 50 moves. Listing e5 was played. This game is actually interesting. Yeah, just take an a4. This guy runs quickly. What is he trying to achieve? I mean, he can't even stop the a pawn for the knight or anything. He can't sacrifice it. He's gonna lose this, I think. Or am I missing something completely? No. The final move was e5. Okay. No, it's losing. It's losing. Wait, what? I have no idea. f4? Waits up. Can you take on C? No, okay, you can't really take on c3. Can you take here? You can take on g5, right? Really?
Rook E1. Rook E1.
Rook. Sorry, where?
Rook E7.
Rook. What did you say?
Oh, wait. The pawn was on F4, yeah?
Oh yeah, sorry, F4.
Yeah, now Rook E1.
Rook E1.
Yeah.
And if I take it,
Oh, wait.
you're threatening mate.
Yeah. But it was a nice game with D2.
But that's still the idea. Why can't you take on F? On sorry,
Yeah,
take here.
yeah, much better.
Take on G5,
F6.
F6,
Yeah,
and take here.
exactly. Much better. Yeah. My fault.
And no, this isn't winning. You can just go King F2. You're in time here.
Oh.
Sorry. Yeah, okay, we're too spectacular. Sorry, I'm gonna update too, because I draw too much on the board. I should get a coloring book. F4 Rook E6 was played instead. So he has sacrificed a piece, but these two pawns looks really dangerous. But I mean, is this really? If we just take him before, well, it's not gonna lose this, right? Well, it's even gonna win this, isn't he? Take, B5. Is Milton losing now?
Okay. Yeah.
If you take on F4, I take here, I think. Yeah, you're gonna lose that. But F4 Rook E6, just take him before. I think Milton is losing. I don't know if our variation was completely accurate, but maybe we don't have to go B5 immediately. But even a call move like G3, and how are we gonna stop the pawn later on? I mean, you can just go pick up the pawn and eventually go. No, this has to be losing for Milton. What was going on? He was completely winning a couple of moves ago. You can try. For those of you who are wondering who I'm talking to Sam Kasani, but he's too afraid to be on camera. He doesn't realize that no one's watching. So Rook E6, and he took him B4.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Taylor's winning, right? Yeah, I mean he was completely losing a couple of moves ago, sure. I mean around here he was much worse.
Yeah.
Oh wait, after B4 he got to play knight E6. He must have missed it, or something around here. Well, that's good for Theodore at least. Even though I kind of feel, is he winning heroes? But this is much more tricky because everything starts hanging now. 97. I think 96 was kind of the turnaround. Even though maybe this is still okay for blacks, and psychologically it's kind of difficult to deal with.
You just take on
Knight G takes F2, but we take on D3 first. Okay, I'm gonna look at. I think, well, in the game at least, you're gonna have to keep an eye on all the games at the same time. But this is the position now. Maybe he doesn't have to play B5. You have to calculate first. But I mean, it has to win. I'm pretty sure it wins. Eric, A5 is the position he's gonna lose. You have to take on A5. I think. Yeah, you have to take on A5. Bishop takes. There's no way you're getting to trade these pawns. Or is there? No. He has to take here. And just, I don't know, bishop c7. Yeah. Unfortunately. The Swedish guy is still he's still trying to avoid the knight and the bishop endgame. Bishop h4. In the end, he's gonna like drop a piece or something because he's trying to keep the pawns. But I mean, this was too complicated, right? Rook b6 and what did we say here was very nice for? It was knight g6, right? And if you take, we have knight f4, easily winning. So king g2, still have this. King f1 here. I don't know, is this the problem? Rook b3? We can just take another pawn or something. But maybe we shouldn't take this pawn, because then we have a couple of stalemate tricks and stuff. I wanna keep that pawn. Okay, what's going on? Rook b4 check is gonna go knight d4, I guess. But okay, this is very good. He can't stop this now. Yeah. Felix is playing well. How many points does he have now? He has 2 draws yesterday. He lost the first games and 2 draws against Coulson and Hamilton. And now he wins this game. So he's on 2 points out of 4, which is really good. He expected before the tournament to end up with 2.5 points out of 9 rounds, and he's obviously exceeding that expectation by far. So Felix and Milton are the guys who are doing well, but after b5, yeah, he played b5 and Milton's gonna lose. Okay, Eric won his game. He takes g5, rook d1, queen takes e2, resigns. Good game. I guess this one very close to being mate for white. And we also have another a draw. It says a draw, but I don't believe they took a draw. They can't really have taken a draw here. Yeah, you can look, but oh wait, maybe it's. I mean, there are some ideas with playing rook d2, rook b3. It's not so easy to defend b3 actually. But I mean, rook b5. Let's go here. Rook b8 check, and we can go king h7 because e6 is too slow. So maybe a draw was reasonable if this idea can't be stopped.
Well, that has a empty rook, so something.
Yeah, that means he misplayed it somewhere around here. Like rook c6, he could at any time just go rook d2 or even rook d3. And yeah, I mean it's like has some compensation, but I mean white should still be pushing quite a bit. We still have this game. It has looked like a draw since the first half hour, but yeah, he's gonna push. He can claim a draw after in move 83, so we have to sit here for quite a while. Ah, okay. Hamilton keeps finding good moves. Bishop takes d6. Yeah, he's gonna resign anytime. I think Eric has been struggling in this tournament. Yeah. And yesterday he got the first point, but I don't think he was too satisfied with the way he played. Technically. And yeah, this is not really. Why is he still playing? I have no idea why he's still playing. He's down a queen. Okay, Felix actually won his game. He resigned Rigestad, which is understandable.
That's good. Very good.
Very good. I'm trying to find some stalemate trick. I can't really see it. No, probably because there isn't any. Okay, so how many games are still going on here? So Stefansson is still playing, even though the game is quite dead. Turn is about to resign his game. We have Hampus' game still going on. So what's going on here? Rook f4 was the last move. So there are some ideas of taking on f2 and queen e4. But I mean, white has queen c8, rook f8, and maybe it's dangerous to take this pawn. Let's try. Take on f2. Yeah, this is bad for white.
Yeah, because
Yeah, we're gonna lose the. Yeah. So queen c8 doesn't seem to work. So rook f4. We can play knight h. No, we can't play knight h3. That's queen e4 anyway. Maybe he's just losing now. Feels like there's some kind of defense, but I don't really see it. And now it feels like there's no defense at all, actually. Okay, how about this? Knight h3, queen e4, and just king h2. There's the star.
b5 is bad, or
I thought b5 was very resourceful. Well, oh, you finished with your game? How did the game go? Because we have no idea actually. A draw. What was the final moves after rook f4? Maybe we have to update to get those. No, we still have no moves after rook f4. So, yeah, you can just. What did you play here?
I played knight h3.
And after queen e4?
King h2.
Oh, you played this, okay.
Rook f8.
Rook f8.
Queen e2.
Queen e2. Yeah, okay, so now the king's safe, I guess. Queen d4. Alright. Well, we haven't checked too much in this game, but I really thought you had a good position around, well, out of the opening at least. I thought you were having a good position then. And I don't know what happened on the king side, but
Yeah, I got some time.
yeah. Okay, Eric has resigned this game because he's here talking. But Milton, rook c4. And wait, is he losing now? Yeah, but is he losing? He should be losing. But a7, rook c8, rook b1, d2, king f2, d1 queen. But I mean, you could always go for something like this, but it's not really what you want, I guess. An a6, and this should win fairly easily.
Yeah.
But I mean, maybe b5 was too quick. I mean, if he could go on, I don't know, b6 here. But I mean, he should be winning. Then what else is going on? I mean, I can't sit and wait for this game to end. They're still playing, right? Yeah, it looked like yeah.
4 hours ago.
And the worst thing is they have still like 35 more moves to make until they can claim a draw. So. Yeah. After 49 moves h3, you're correct. So then they're all pretty much done except for Milton's game. Who played h3? Bishop endgame. Well, I'm not gonna sit and wait if they play h3. Okay, so who won their games? It was Bajrani and Blomqvist. They're the sole leaders, I guess. 3.5 out of 4. So they have to face each other tomorrow. If the pairings are correct, I suppose. And yeah, how did the Swedish guys do today? Blomqvist did well. Philip did really well. Jonathan is struggling here. He didn't play well yesterday or today. And of course Felix is doing well. Milton has been playing extremely well, but unfortunately appears to be losing now. Even though he's playing very good chess. He deserves more points than he has actually. Well, nothing is going on in the game, so I guess I'm gonna end the broadcast now. So thanks for today, and thank you Sam Kasani for sitting here and joining me, even though you don't want to be on camera. So yeah, and still a couple of hours until Champions League starts. So yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow. This round was really short. Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's a double round tomorrow. We start at 10 o'clock and 5 o'clock. So yeah, I will start at 11 and 5 o'clock actually tomorrow. Well, see you tomorrow.